So this is kind of weird because we're like just in the parking lot. I've been
parking
trying
lot.
to record these like randomly.
Yeah.
Where I meet people and stuff. So.
I like the parking lot. This is a nice place. So.
Yeah, it's not bad. This is where I hang out. But I'm here with Phil Hughes from the Showboat Branson Belle. I have been to the Showboat before.
Have you?
I have.
Did you enjoy your experience at the Showboat?
It depends on the day.
You've been there multiple times, I hear.
I've been there over 4,000 times.
Wow, that's nice.
But you're new this year.
I am new this year.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing like that new act smell.
It's nice, I smelled that immediately. You smell different when you're awake. Yeah. But so you this is your first year at the Showboat. So tell me what you were doing before you came to the Showboat.
I've been doing mainly performing on cruise ships, some college shows, corporate shows, that kind of thing. But
as a juggler. Unicycle.
Unicycle, juggler, ventriloquist. No, just basically ventriloquism.
Yeah, talking to yourself. Basically.
Yes, I talk to myself. Yeah. Get paid for it. So.
Yeah, but you were doing cruise ships?
Mainly cruise ships because they monopolize the majority of my time.
Yeah.
It's hard to book anything else.
It is, because I do cruise ships as well.
Yeah.
And people think that it's like this grand thing, they're like, oh, you're so lucky, but I don't enjoy it very much. Do you like it?
I liked it for many, many years. The travel got wearing on me. I had a nice gig from about 2008 until 2013 doing the same ship every week, and I'd fly in and out. I was on it for 5 days and would do cross over the cruises.
What cruise line?
That was Carnival.
Oh, how did that work for you?
I actually enjoyed it a lot. I normally did Holland America, Celebrities, Seabourn, Norwegian, Silver Sea. Those were wonderful, but you're on longer at a time, and you still only perform one night, maybe 2 nights in a cruise.
Right.
So Carnival was nice. I'd fly in, do my show, stay over, do another one, be gone for a total of 5 days. You're basically paid for 2 weeks, and then go home and wait for the end of the next cruise. So it was nice.
Yeah, it was all right.
Or I'd fly out, and then they kept flying me every week. I would do 2 nights, fly out, do my show, get home, go home the next day.
Oh, on Carnival ships,
was
you
nice.
think it's going to be a week, but it ends up being 2 weeks because the ship breaks down.
I didn't say that.
I did.
Because no, it was nice, but just the constant flying, it's very tiring.
It is tiring, and people don't realize it. I say that being on a cruise ship is like being in a gilded cage. Like, it's great. You have so many things that you can do, but you're stuck there. Yeah. And after a while, after you've done everything.
Right. And I do photography, so I jump off in port and shoot the place. It's wonderful. That's nice. But after a while, when you're flying in and out every week, that's nice because you get to go home. But too much time in airports and just tired all the time.
Especially now. It's just a pain with all the connections and all that stuff.
Yes.
It's not enjoyable. That's what I warn people when they travel with me. Stick with me. I know how to get through the lines really quick, and I don't screw around.
That's right.
I follow certain people through the security lines, nobody with kids or a stroller or a wheelchair.
Yep.
I tend to follow my Asian friends through. They travel a lot, so they know how to get through. They got slip-on shoes. They're not wearing belts.
It doesn't work for me. My wife is Asian, and she's slower than I am through these lines. I don't know why. So, I tell her to follow me. So.
Yeah. There you go.
No, she's good.
No, cruise ships are a whole different thing, though, because especially Carnival, because you do a show, and I don't know. I hate doing port days, which, because the people are tired. They come back. They're sunburnt. They pay an outrageous amount of money to get their hair braided because they think it looks good. Nothing is hotter than a girl with corn rows and a burnt scalp. And so then they come into your show, and so I usually try to request not to do a port night.
It's tough because it depends on the port, and it depends on your audience. Some of them are great. But if it's a late port day and it's hot and sunny, they're tired, they're beat, they've been all over the place. Yeah, you're right. It's a tough crowd.
It's a challenge.
Yeah.
And it's different than doing the Showboat because people can get up and leave and they can...
Yes.
They're not necessarily there to see you. They pop in to see what the show is.
They happen to say, hey, there's a show tonight. Let's go see it.
Yeah, we don't want to go see karaoke again.
Right.
Let's go see this show.
Yeah.
So you can't... I tell people that do cruise ships the first time, you can't take it personally when people are getting up and leaving and that sort of thing.
I try not to get them to get up and leave, but
No, but
if you keep the audience lights off, you can't see that.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I leave the lights on because I like to see them. So.
Do you mainly do Caribbean cruises?
No, all over. I've done all 7 continents, including Antarctica.
Me too.
Absolutely love it. It's been if we had to pay to see all the places that we've seen for free and get paid for, actually, it would be unbelievably expensive.
That's what I say.
There's no way I could have seen all of that.
It's like a paid vacation.
Yeah, I've been very blessed to do that. I mean, I've just been everywhere, and I still travel out of the country for that. It's wonderful. So
yeah. And it's nice to see other cultures.
Yes.
And what I've learned with cruise ships is how to entertain different types of people. The British humor, it's very, very different. I did an around-the-world cruise, one of my first cruises. I was on there, and different people would go on and off the ship every few weeks, and so you got different cultures as you went around.
Right.
And it was interesting.
It's challenging. I had a regular ship, the Marco Polo, out and most of the time I'd go to Europe.
They found that?
They did. They did.
Okay.
They found it. It was in a pool.
Of course. I do that at Starbucks. I tell my name is Marco. So they stand there, Marco, and I just never answer until they say it like 10 times. Or I tell my name is Dad. And they're going, Dad? Oh, anyways, so Marco Polo.
We should do that one day.
I don't go to
Marco.
Starbucks. I'm kidding.
I don't go to Starbucks. We'll go to Denny's. Anyway.
Nobody goes to Denny's. You end up
at Denny's. That's right. And it used to be when there was a smoking section, you would say, is it the mutant section or the non-mutant section, basically, is what it was. So,
yeah, well, here
it's about 3 o'clock in the morning. That's the way it looked, So anyway, the drunks were over on one side. But anyway. I was over in Europe every other week. I'd go every 2 weeks, go out for a couple of weeks, come back.
Right.
And I got really good at playing to that audience because it was such an interesting mix of Europeans, and people from Asia. It was a really neat eclectic mix, including some U.S. citizens as well. And it kind of honed your craft a little bit. Then after being away from that for a number of years, doing predominantly U.S. acts again, your act gets honed for that, and you go back out and get thrust in that situation. Right. And it's tough to make that transition.
It is.
So,
especially because I use a lot of current events in the show, or pop humor, and people in other countries that they don't quite get the Justin Bieber jokes and that sort of thing. So no, so that's a little tough.
Right.
But it's different being here in Branson. And was it culture shock coming to Branson?
Not really. I like Branson. My wife and I have actually just absolutely loved it here. It wasn't really culture shock because I grew up in the Midwest. For one thing, I grew up in Iowa. So it's very similar. But Branson is its own little beast, if you will, I think. It's you have the Midwest charm as well as the Southern influence and this entertainment that you would never see in a town this size normally. It's a small town with it's a very unique place.
It's a unique place to perform.
It's extremely
very
unique
much
place.
so.
And it's cool because I have friends here that I've known from other places, and yet you meet the normal, everyday, nice, small town, decent people that I grew up with.
Right.
And it's just a really nice mix. I like that.
Yeah.
But
well,
it's odd.
We're going to talk about that a little bit here in a few minutes. So I want to find out how your first year here in Branson has been. So we'll be right back with Phil Hughes. Hey, it's Christopher James with All Things Branson. We're back with Phil Hughes from the Showboat Branson Belle, Ventriloquist. And this is your first year here in Branson. Have you been to Branson before you came?
Not since I was a kid, many years ago. Yeah, and we just Lake of the Ozarks, basically. So never really experienced much of Branson itself.
Did you go to anything when you were here as a kid, like Silver Dollar City or anything?
I vaguely remember as a very young child driving through here and seeing that, but that's it.
See, I had no idea what Branson was.
But I didn't remember. I mean, that was, I'm, 20 now? I mean, that's been a long time. Yeah, a long time. I'll be 51 next month, so it's been a number of years. That? So, it's been a while.
Yeah, I had never heard of it, and they called me. Jim called me.
That's how it happened to me.
Yeah, our producer, and I had never heard of it. My wife is like, what is Branson? Because we still had answering machine then, So she came home, listened to the answering machine. She's like, what is a Branson? And I'm like, a Branson? I don't know what a Branson is. What are you talking about? Has me listen to it, and I'm like, Richard Branson? Like Richard, like Virgin. Oh my God, I told my friends, I think I'm going to do a show for Richard Branson. I had no idea. No clue. And the very first day I came down, which the noon show here used to start in April. So I came down in April, and the very first thing I did, I got to town and went to the Presley show
Oh, wow.
That was the very first show I saw. And I love the Presley show. Sure. I know them and stuff. But I went there, and I was moving here from New York, and I called my agent during intermission and said, "What did you do? Where am I? I don't do anything like this. I'm going to be fired in a week." So did you come down early? Did you and your wife check it out? Or?
We came down in October of last year to meet. Jim called me out of the blue. One night, I was getting ready to leave the next day for a ship. Had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to fly to Vancouver to get on a ship and take it to Hawaii. Yeah. So I was going to have all sea days, and it was the night before. He calls, left 2 messages, and I got a couple emails. And I'm out to dinner with my wife, and I'm like, they want me to do something in Branson, Missouri. So I was like, I text him, or I wrote him back and said, "Hey, I'm out to dinner with my wife. I have to get up in the morning, but I'll call you when I get back or tonight by 11 o'clock. He said, "Yeah, go ahead and call." He missed my call. So I wrote him back. I said, "Well, if we can talk through email. I've got email on the ship." So all the way across to Hawaii, Jim and I were talking back and forth, and we arranged for me to come out in October.
Yeah.
So I met in October, came out.
I think I remember.
Yeah,
you came and did a little showcase show.
I did a show on. They wanted to see. It's interesting here. It's not as much. They knew my show already. They'd seen what I did. They liked it, but they also want to make sure that the people mesh, that you can get along, and they don't want someone who's just going to be a real jerk to deal with, I think. And
yeah, right.
So I came in, I met everyone. I did a show in the noon show.
Yeah.
And we had a great time.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, some of the techs had already invited themselves for Thai food to our house by that.
Well,
that
I
day.
seem to remember you telling everyone about how great your
my wife cooks.
Because I saw you, and that was one of the first things. My wife is an amazing Thai cook.
I don't know how we got into that. Yeah, but everybody
Which
here seems to like Thai food. It's
yet
wonderful.
To have.
Well, we brought it to the Showboat, but you were in the other show.
Here, apparently,
we'll have to get it for you.
So, yeah. But I remember when you came down and did that. And did the little showcase and stuff like that. And that was kind of fun. It was interesting. And it's neat for me because I get to see all the acts that come in. But you're right. Like, they want somebody that isn't just a great talent, but that meshes, because we have a very unique venue.
It is very unique.
And you're kind of lucky because your cast has 4 features.
Yes.
Where we have, what do we have, 12 people?
You have a big group,
A big group in there. And not including the band, of course.
Right.
But you have to get along because people don't realize we're on a boat for like 3 or 4 hours together, and you have to get along.
And there's not much room backstage. People don't realize. They see this nice, big, beautiful boat, and it's gorgeous. There's not much room backstage.
Not much more than this little canopy.
No.
That we're under.
So we have to live in this small space, and you have to get along.
Yeah, people come back after the show and they ask Cassandra all the time, "How many people do you have backstage dressing you guys?" And she says, "It's just me." And no one ever believes her.
No.
And we try to tell them it's like the size of this picnic table.
It is, yeah, it's small.
Like, seriously. Yeah. So you came down, you did that, and so you get away from cruise ships for a little bit now. But like me, I'm sure, during off-season, because you have a longer off-season than I do.
I have 6 months.
Yeah, that's what I used to have. Because I was in the noon show for a while.
Right,
For a long while, like for 5 years. And it was great, because I could do this, then I would go back and do cruise ships. But my first 2 years, I said, I'm going to take a break from ships. I was tired of traveling, like we discussed. And I said, I'm going to cut back. So then the third year, I went back to ships, and the cruise director came to me, and the producer came to me and said, you can do jokes and stuff that the adults will get too. They thought I was doing like a very tamed down act.
Okay.
Because Branson is, you have to keep it really clean.
Of course you do.
You have to keep it really general for people.
Right.
And it was quite a shock, actually, going back and doing the cruise ships and stuff. So do you think it'll be weird when you go back this year?
No, I don't think I'd been at it long enough here to adjust that much, and I'm only doing 15 minutes here.
Yeah, and you swear like crazy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, oh my gosh. I mean, you bet.
We beat you more than R2D2.
It won't be too bad. I have to go back and work on one character that I haven't used for almost 6 months now.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think you have to remember how your whole act went together as a 55-minute show versus a 15-minute show. Mm-hmm. That'll be different.
It is very different. But as Todd Oliver was here for years with me, 10 or 12 years, he told me even something you don't really enjoy doing, you'll get very, very good at on the Showboat, because you do it so much. Yeah. And you do it for so many different kinds of audiences. Yeah. I used to change my act throughout the year, but this year I decided to keep it pretty much the same and just adjust it as we went along.
Yeah, I've just been tweaking it as it goes along, and I've loved that because every day it feels like Christmas to come in and go, what can I do today? And then it just keep making it a little bit better and better just by minor tweaks.
Yeah.
And I've loved what's happened to it. It's been a lot of fun.
See, I think you're like me. Like, prior to this year, well, let me put it this way. This year, I really look forward to coming in and working with the audiences, because I tried some new stuff beginning of the year, a lot more improv in the show for me. So every show is different, and I actually get excited, like, oh, yeah, it's about time to go on stage.
Yeah,
like I look forward to it.
I have so much fun. Every morning I joke and tell my friends, it's like Christmas morning. Every morning I get to get up and go to do
Unwrap
a show.
Things.
I love it. Yeah, unwrap a show.
Yeah,
it's true.
You never know what's going to happen.
No,
because
you don't.
Sometimes you come out and you have an audience that's been carted around town all day.
Oh, yeah.
Seeing so many different shows, or you'll have a high school group, or you never know what you're going to have.
Right.
It's really, and I'm lucky I get to do the pre-show, so I get a little.
You can figure out what they're like easily. Yeah, I sit out and watch the pre-show to see what they're like.
Do you?
Yeah.
I kind of miss being in your position. My first year, I was the feature, so I would do my 15 or 20 minutes, and it was nice.
Oh yeah,
It was nice.
I have the easiest gig on this in our show.
You do?
Oh yeah,
Like, seriously. You have what I did my first year, and I used to joke around because I did the same schedule as you, and I lived where you live.
Okay.
And I would say to my wife, I'd say, I'll be back. I'm just going to run and do the show real quick. It was like running to go to Walmart or something.
I know.
Because you just come, you'd hang out, you'd do 20 minutes and be back. Sometimes I wouldn't even shut the TV and stuff off. And you'd have every evening free.
Oh, that's been fantastic.
I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I don't get to go to shows.
No, you don't. Yeah.
No. But I'll tell you what, when we come back, I want to talk to you about your experience going around in Branson.
Okay.
And what you've noticed and what you enjoy about Branson. So we'll be right back with Phil Hughes. All right, I'm back with Phil Hughes, ventriloquist and comedian at the Showboat Branson Belle 2015. And so you've been in Branson a little while. You get a lot more free time than I do.
Yeah.
And so my wife gives me a hard time about even doing this. She's like, such little free time.
Chris, what happened when I used to just say, I'm just popping over to the Showboat to do a show real fast?
Now
Okay,
basically
right.
I have 3 full-time jobs.
Yeah, you do.
But you have been to some shows in town. We were talking about you've been to see Rick. Have you seen Rick Thomas's show?
Yeah, we saw Rick Thomas. Yeah, we did see Rick.
I love that show.
We saw he's fantastic.
He's amazing, and I love his humor and stuff.
Yeah, he comes across as very, number one, he's very likable.
Yeah.
It's one of those rare illusionists who actually, some of them just seem, there's so much drama and done well, but he breaks through that and becomes extremely likable and truly connects to the audience.
Yeah.
He does
Do you
a
like
wonderful
illusionists?
job. I do.
Yeah?
I do.
Yeah. It's a whole different thing. I get angry when people call me an illusionist.
Well, yeah, you're a magician. It's different.
When they write a review. It's very different, I think.
I like illusions if they're done really well.
Mm-hmm. But like you're saying, so many people, and one that used to be here in town, they just wheel on a prop. And do their
and there's
thing,
nothing to it. Yeah.
And are very egotistical about their talent, but it's not them. It's the people. I always say it's the person in the box.
It's the person in the box.
Yeah.
I was the person in the box in the show before.
Yeah.
I did La Femme Magique, which was a version of Showgirls of Magic, a David Sachs production.
Yeah.
We did it in Philadelphia for him, and I had 2 10-minute bits in the show. The second 10-minute spot, they introduced me by producing me from a box. So I was in a sub-trunk, which was quite funny. And sorry, sorry everybody, all the illusionists out there. But yeah, they produced me from a box, which was quite interesting. I'm not quite built to be
in a box.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to work one into my show here, and it's just not my style. Like,
no.
I have to do it. I have one that I'm working on. I've been working on it for 3 years. That is a comedy bit having to do with illusions, but I just see so many people. It makes me angry when people will bring up different names and what a great magician. I'm like, they're not a magician. They're a furniture mover. Like, they're just wheeling something on.
But get back to Rick. Rick breaks through that, and what a performance.
He is.
He's
That's
a
what I'm saying.
performer.
Like, he's the only
That's
one
a
that
difference.
I've enjoyed.
I think that's the difference. It's like there's great musicians out there. So many of them can play wonderful music, but they can't put on a show by themselves because they're not a performer.
They're not an entertainer.
They're not an entertainer. Rick's an entertainer.
Yeah, he is.
He's classy. Mm-hmm. he comes out with pizzazz, and he's likable.
Yeah.
He connects to the audience. We always said for comedians, for comedy, it's a conversation with the audience. Whatever you do, I don't care what kind of performing you do, you have to connect to the audience somehow. And sometimes there's like this disconnect between the audience and the performer, and the show isn't as good as it can be because you haven't made that connection.
Right.
And he does. He makes a good connection. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
Which kind of brings me to going to shows.
Rick,
in
you
town.
owe me for all of that now. That's payment.
I'm trying to get
yeah.
him on here.
Okay.
I want to talk to him. A few years ago, when I was going to be the MC, this was actually like 9 years ago, I decided with my daughter, I hadn't seen shows in town other than the Presleys and a couple other ones, and I decided to go to every show I could. So we took a few weeks and went to every show, and here's what I noticed. You had to get the audience to like you.
Of course.
And it was a little different than everywhere else I had performed in the Catskills. You came out, you did your show, and then you left, and there was a bright light in your face, and you didn't know who was out there.
No.
But in Branson, they're right there, and they come out and see you after the show. They see you at Target.
Yes.
They're everywhere. And so what I learned was to do a lot of yes ma'ams, no ma'ams, be polite, just get them to like you as a person.
Sure.
And that made a huge difference.
Right.
I'm not to say they didn't like me as a person before.
Well, no,
but you know what I mean?
but it really brings it to your mind that you have to do it. Don Rickles was his insult comic that he is.
Yeah.
They liked him.
Yeah, right.
He had a smile and a look on his face and a gleam in his eye that connected with that audience. They knew he was joking. He could slam him and then give him a smile, and it's all good, you know?
Yeah.
They liked him.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he couldn't get away with it.
Yeah, well, that happens here. Even Jim will say that. He'll say that, I start off a certain way and get the audience used to the humor, where if I have to jump to one of my routines, it looks like I'm being a jerk.
Right.
One of the routines later on. But once they get my humor and it's all in good fun,
right.
I have an agent, whenever he sends me to do showcase shows for cruise ships or whatever years ago, he would say, do this bit that I used to do that was real popular. And I say, no way. They'll think that I'm being a jerk. Like I'm making it look like this guy is not getting the instructions,
Right.
And he just he couldn't understand that.
Yeah, when you only have X amount of time, you haven't established your character, you
Exactly.
can't throw in and do something like that.
Right.
So.
But Rick's good at that. You said you went and saw Chipper.
Yeah, we saw Chipper Lowell in Colin Ray's show, and Chipper's fantastic.
He is.
Colin, man, what a show.
Yeah.
I wish he was still here. I mean, I'm sure he'll start up again next year, but
I'm sure.
Great singer, man. He can really sing still.
Yeah, I saw
Amazing.
Chipper one of the first years I went to the Magic Castle. I was going to perform there, and I went the week before and saw him. He was in the main theater, and I thought, this guy is great.
Well, he's hysterical.
He is.
I love his ventriloquist bit. It's wonderful. He's a good
I don't
ventriloquist.
remember that, but
I'll
have to see it.
Yeah, you'll have to see it. It's a great bit. So,
yeah. So you saw that? You've been to Hamner's variety show?
Yeah, I went to Hamner's, and then
Dave's.
Sure, Dave.
Pretty good.
Phenomenal show.
He mixes this magic.
It's nice.
illusion.
It's a nice. I like that because it's a variety show.
Yeah, I love
I love
shows.
variety because hey, there's something in it for everybody in the audience.
Right.
I love variety, and I think we need more variety personally. As a variety act, of course, I think that.
Oh, I think so too. A few years ago, I was asked if I'd want to do my own show. Somebody that wanted me to do my own show, and I said, no way, not in this town, because the audience is so diverse.
Right.
You'd have to be a big name like Colin Ray.
Sure, of course.
To do it, or else people are going to complain. Like, ultimately, you get a bus group. Not everybody's there to see you or to see magic. Or to see
and that's true. A bus group is a different entity completely because it's not like you have a whole bunch of people who decide, hey, individually decide, let's go see Chris.
They don't.
Let's go see Christopher James. Be wonderful. No, you got a bus says, we're going to go take a trip. Okay, great. By the way, we're seeing Christopher James.
Yeah.
Who? It's
exactly.
like, oh, I know him. He's great. And then half of them like you, half of them don't. It's a word.
So after you saw a few shows here, any big impressions about what did you really like about the performances?
I just like how they pack. There's so much entertainment packed into such a small area, and you're bringing people from so many different places in the States and even out. Today I met a couple from Ireland. They had come in.
It's a long drive.
Yeah, they drove a long way. I mean, it's a long snorkel, too. It was a long snorkel. The funny thing is they have been driving, too. They flew out one spot and they rented a car, and they've been driving a brand new Mustang convertible across the country, and they're having a ball.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, and they're really loving it. And they didn't even know about Branson until they went to St. Louis. Didn't like it so much. They drove a little further south and stopped for the night and had dinner. And someone said, "Have you been to Branson?" So they came today.
Oh, wow.
And they absolutely love this.
Oh, that's cool.
So you have people from such a diverse group of people coming to this town that all have to be entertained.
Right.
And it's such a cool mix in this town.
Yeah.
It's the first night we came here. Okay, my wife and I came, and after we did the show, we thought, well, let's take a drive on the strip and see.
Went and had some Thai food.
Yeah, we had some Thai food. Yeah, and we were driving down the strip we were sitting on the strip in the car, at almost a dead stop because of the traffic. But
right.
It was fascinating to see this. It reminds me of Vacation with Mom and Dad in the station wagon, where you go and see all these roadside attractions. And this is just this one big massive roadside attraction for people on a road trip.
Yeah.
It's a great place.
My first week here, I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to see everything here. There's no way. There's so much to see. But 11 years later, I still haven't seen much more.
No, and we look and it's almost time for this run to end for us this year. And my wife and I are thinking, we need to hurry up and go. We need to see this, and this, and we haven't seen it, we've kept going by the Ottawa Farm Museum. We want to see that. We want to see that. So last week, well, the Nash is inside right now. They've been rotating them.
See, I
love that Nash. Did you?
Yeah.
You're the third person I know. Sammy King, he's here in town. He had one.
I loved it.
My friend Bob Abdu had one.
I loved it.
Yeah.
I had that, and I was trying to find a little pearl, a little teardrop for the
My
back.
wife wants it.
Yeah.
My wife wants. She had me take a picture of it. So my parents and two of my aunts were here in town, and we went to the museum.
Yeah.
And I love it. I'm going to go back and do more photography. It's a great place.
Every once in a while we do the touristy thing.
Yeah, and then we did the ducks.
And do the thing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the ducks.
Oh, the ducks drive by me every day. They see me and wave because
drive by you or in front of
you?
you?
They ride by me. I'm on the bicycle every morning, and it's like they go by me. I wave at them, and
I think it's great.
Oh, that's the greatest tour.
It is.
It's if you've never done it, you got to do it. Anyone? Oh, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
Oh, good. You've had a chance to do some things here in Branson, and when we come back, I want to talk to you about performing in Branson and some of the real challenges. So we're back with Phil Hughes, ventriloquist, comedian, and chef here at the Showboat Branson, right? So we were talking.
They wouldn't be eating here if I was a chef. Trust me, they'd be like, "Oh,
I
wow,
I was a chef.
What?
I love to
grilled
cook.
cheese again. What are we doing?"
But here is a challenge. I've talked to every comedian. I talked to James from Pierce Arrow. I know you've been to the show.
Oh, yeah.
I love James. I think he's
great guy.
Great.
Great.
I've talked to a lot of comedians from around town, Jamie and Perry and them, about the challenge of working in Branson, where when you're on ships. I've done Vegas, I've done New York, I've worked in LA. Here, they're very lenient on repeating material. Should we say that? What is that? Borrowing material?
Ooh.
You know what I mean?
Okay, that's not quite repeating. That's
repeating somebody else's.
Oh, repeating somebody else's. Yeah, I don't like that. That's a.
Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
It really bothers me.
It bothers me as well.
And I was warned about that when I first came here. They said because my act was really unique. I hadn't been to Branson. I didn't know anything about it. So I get here and do my act for a couple weeks, and then somebody came to the show and said, "I love your act. Get ready. It's going to be at every theater in town." I'm like, "Why would I work at other theaters?" And they said, "No, you misunderstand." And so that is an issue here, and people seem to be okay with that. Have you noticed that?
I've noticed that. I've noticed that in a number of places, not just Branson, but it's. I think it's a town that you have so many venues, and it eats up so much material, and they need people to work it.
Yeah.
And they find someone said, "Oh, well, you can just get this. I saw this guy do this," and I find that so. Distasteful, I think. I don't know how to even express it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's...
Now, I'll tell you my take on it, is that Branson is all about being safe.
Sure.
In the entertainment, you don't want anybody to be offended. It's about clean humor.
Right.
And so if they see an act somewhere...
that works.
And they know it works, they're going to do that.
Right.
Because they're not taking a chance.
Right.
Because if you do something really unique and it fails, then it's your fault.
Right.
And so I think it's just shifting the blame.
It's shifting the blame and just taking the easy way out. It's almost, I've always said it's harder to write clean material than it is something that's off color. Even borderline material is easier than clean material.
Right.
So, and it's how do you find that many talented people who are willing to come out here and relocate and work here in these theaters?
Yeah.
You know, there are plenty out there.
Yeah.
There are plenty out there. But, they're doing their own show. and they may not be able to move or this or that or whatever.
Yeah.
And then there are some talented people, and you're right. The people at the venue go, here, this will work. Do it.
Right.
And they're basically spoon feeding them. It's going here.
Yeah.
This is the material we want you to do.
This.
Yeah,
you're
just a face.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And I don't agree with that.
Because I know some of the shows in town that have certain characters. When that person leaves, they just hire somebody else to do the same routine.
Right. And if it's unique to their theater and they've developed that for their theater, I don't have anything against that. That's fine. If it's
unique to them.
If it's unique to them and written for them and it was their venue's material, no problem with that.
Yeah.
But if you go out and I was on a cruise ship and I saw this guy do this, let me stick it here because nobody will ever see that.
Or on YouTube, watch this.
Right. Oh, yeah.
YouTube has been a problem. Or America's Got Talent.
Right. Well, yeah.
Yeah, we could talk about that. I'm sure you get that all the time about the ventriloquist one.
Yeah.
I get it about Matt Franco.
Sure.
And, there's been a lot of problems with some of those people.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are jugglers on cruise ships, and they were asked to go on, as was I a few years ago.
I was asked to go on numerous times,
And Janice was helping me work on an aerial act for that and some other. I don't know if we ever talked about that. But then the America's Got Talent people came to me just exactly like you're saying and said, can you do this act?
Right.
Can you do this? And I said, no, that's not mine.
Yeah.
They didn't really care.
Yeah.
And that bothered me a lot.
It bothers me a lot, yeah.
I was telling some juggler friends of mine, and they didn't want to go on the show. They said they went, they talked to them, and they were afraid that they would do their act and everyone would rip it off.
Sure.
And that's a big problem because that's our livelihood.
Anytime you're on TV, you do this, they see it, and then the next time you go out and they go, well, I saw you do that.
Yeah.
So that's a problem as well. But at the same time, you get so many people, aspiring jugglers, ventriloquists, comedians, whatever, magicians say, oh, that's a great bit. I'll do that.
Exactly.
It's in my act.
No. Doesn't work that way.
No. And it won't be done as well.
Right.
I walked into a comic club and someone did the punchline of my joke. A bunch of comics were doing an open mic at a Funny Bone, and they did the punchline. All these comics waiting to go on laughed like it was the funniest thing they ever heard. I'm like, it was a very unique punchline.
Right.
I walked back, and the MC stopped me, and he said, well, so-and-so was back. She did your bit. They thought it was funny, and he just called it back. I'm like, she took my... So that night I went up, and I did it because I thought, it's mine. I own it. And and then they saw me do it. They knew it was mine because of the way it was told.
Yeah.
Well,
I hate it when people say it's a tribute or they're paying you, an honor.
No.
And the way that there was recently a magician that put a YouTube video on doing an act that was very similar to somebody else's. I truly believe he wasn't trying to take this other guy's act, but it was his signature piece, this other guy. And everyone was defending the magician that performed it and saying, well, it's a tribute. And the creator of it said the same thing I did. If somebody goes on television and does an imitation of my act, okay, even if people know it's me, and then I try to get booked on something, they're going to say, well, that was already on this show. Even if it was done really poorly.
Right.
They're not going to care. When I came to Branson, went to the Presleys, went to some other shows, I had a certain act that I was going to do. It was the lean, if you know what it is. Okay? And I came here with a set act, went and saw that show, and they did a version of it, not even as a magic trick, just as a little aside. And I decided, no, it's too close. I don't want to do it.
Right.
So I cut it, stayed up all night, came up with a new bit, all that. And then after a couple weeks, noticing that wouldn't have been a problem. People wouldn't have cared if I left it in. And that kind of bothered me. I thought it was kind of strange. Because doing comedy clubs, like you're saying, or doing some of these other venues, you do that, you're blackballed. You're not going to work. Where here, you get not here, but in Branson,
right?
You'll get rewarded sometimes. Yeah. I mean, what bothers me is when somebody keeps winning recognition as a great comedian or a great performer, and clearly you know whose material that is.
Whose material, or that's just a mishmash of everybody's material. Yeah. Well, there was someone who was on America's Got Talent, and someone came up to me, did you see what this guy did last night? He did this, and this. And I said, oh, I don't know. Why is this guy on there? He doesn't need to be on America's Got Talent. He says, no, it's not him.
Yeah, right.
Well, that's his act.
Yeah.
So
what do you do?
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. And that's why here we're lucky because we perform so much that we can keep changing and tweaking our material. And I've had people try to imitate my act around town, and it's just terrible. I had a comedian that would see videos of my act, but because I do a pre-show, which we don't record, And then my show, which he had a recording of,
right,
he saw the callbacks. And so he would do the callbacks.
But the setup wasn't in.
No. And it became a running gag because everybody knew that he was doing this. And he would just say these lines and get no reaction. He didn't understand what was wrong with it. But for all of those people, we do still also have very unique acts in Branson.
Oh, yes, we do.
We have some great comedians, Paul Harris and some others in town.
James Sibley, phenomenal.
James is great. I haven't seen his act. I'm going to go down and see it. We should do that.
You have to. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, we'll go see it, and then your wife can finally make me some time.
There you go. Sounds good.
Let's do that.
All right.
So it's been fun talking to you.
You too.
Come out to the Showboat and see the Showboat Branson Belle's noon show. You guys are done in a few weeks.
Yes.
Towards the end of November here.
Right.
But come by and see Phil Hughes. I'm Christopher James. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you for supporting All Things Branson. Be sure to subscribe and stay in touch on Facebook and Twitter. Check back at allthingsbranson.com for the latest news about Branson, Missouri.